No organization, no matter how mature, certified, or well-managed, is immune to non-conformances. A supplier shipment arrives with incorrect material certification. An assembly fails final test. A dimension trends out of tolerance. A work instruction revision wasn't implemented on the floor. These moments test the strength of your quality management system, because quality is not measured when everything goes right. Quality is measured in how you respond when something goes wrong. In this chapter, we're going to explore how to manage non-conformances and deviations effectively, not as paperwork exercises, but as disciplined risk control mechanisms that protect your customer, your compliance posture, and your operational integrity. When handled properly, non-conformances become data. When handled poorly, they become liabilities. At its core, a non-conformance is simply the failure to meet a requirement, but that definition is deceptively simple. Requirements exist at multiple levels inside an organization. They can originate from customer drawings, regulatory codes, internal procedures, industry standards, contractual agreements, or even strategic quality objectives. Standards like ISO 9001 and AS 9100 are very clear on this point. Organizations must ensure that non-conforming outputs are identified and controlled to prevent unintended use or delivery. The key word there is controlled. Control means more than tagging a part and moving it to a red bin. Control means understanding the risk, documenting the decision, and ensuring traceability of what happened and why. Non-conformance management is fundamentally a risk management process embedded inside your QMS. One of the most common weaknesses in organizations is the blurring of lines between non-conformances and deviations. A non-conformance is reactive. It is identified after a requirement has already been missed. A deviation, on the other hand, is proactive. It is formal authorization to depart from a requirement before or during production. That difference matters. Imagine a component is discovered undersized during inspection. That is a non-conformance. If engineering reviews the issue and determines the undersized condition will not affect performance, and formally authorizes use for a specific batch, that authorization is a deviation or concession. Without formal deviation control, organizations drift into informal, "we'll let it go this time" decisions. Those informal decisions accumulate hidden risk. Effective quality systems make these decisions visible, traceable, and time-bound. Deviations should always have a defined quantity or expiration date. If the same deviation is repeatedly requested, it is not a temporary exception. It is evidence of process instability or design misalignment. That is where leadership must intervene. Let's walk through the life cycle of a non-conformance, not as a checklist, but as a disciplined sequence of risk containment and learning. Step 1 is identification, catching issues. Early non-conformances are detected in many ways: incoming inspection, in-process verification, final inspection, customer feedback, internal audits, supplier audits, or field returns. The maturity of your organization often reveals itself in how early problems are detected. Early detection is cheaper. Early detection is safer. Early detection protects reputation. This is why investment in statistical process control, mistake-proofing, layered audits, and visual controls is not optional in high-performing systems. The goal is not to find defects. The goal is to detect abnormal conditions before they escalate into defects. Once identified, the first priority is containment. Containment is decisive and immediate. It is not about analysis yet, it is about protection. Product is physically segregated. Inventory status is changed in the Enterprise Resource Planning Software, or ERP. Affected work orders are blocked. Potentially impacted shipments are reviewed. Containment prevents escape. In safety-critical industries, this discipline is non-negotiable. A lapse in containment can translate directly into customer downtime, financial loss, regulatory exposure, or even safety risk. A strong containment culture values speed and clarity. It avoids debate in the first moments and prioritizes protection first, analysis second. After containment, structured evaluation begins. This is where cross-functional judgment matters. Quality understands the procedural requirements. Engineering understands the design intent. Operations understands practical process capability, and sometimes supply chain or customer representatives must also be involved. Many organizations formalize this review through a material review board. The evaluation should ask deeper questions. Does the non-conformance affect performance or reliability? Does it impact regulatory compliance? Could it introduce long-term degradation? Is it cosmetic, functional, or safety-related? Risk-based thinking, which is foundational to modern quality systems, must guide the decision, not convenience, not schedule pressure, not production metrics, but risk. The disposition decision is where discipline is tested. Rework restores full compliance with original requirements. Repair restores functionality but may require formal concession because the product no longer fully matches original design intent. Use-as-is decisions require technical justification and often customer approval. Scrap eliminates risk entirely but carries immediate financial cost. High-performing organizations resist the temptation to overuse use-as-is to protect short-term delivery metrics. What looks like efficiency today can become warranty claims tomorrow. Disposition decisions should be documented with clear rationale. If someone reviews the record 2 years later, the reasoning should be obvious and defensible. Traceability is protection. Deviation control is often less mature than nonconformance control, yet it carries equal risk. A proper deviation should include a technical description of the departure, a documented risk assessment, clear boundaries on quantity or time, and formal approval, including customer authorization when contractually required. The danger with deviations is normalization. When temporary deviations become routine, the organization quietly shifts its standard without revising its documentation. This creates audit exposure and erodes process control. If the same deviation appears repeatedly, leadership should ask, why is the process not capable of meeting the requirement? Is the design unrealistic? Is training insufficient? Is equipment inadequate? Deviations are diagnostic signals. They reveal friction between design intent and process reality. Every nonconformance generates data, and data, when aggregated and analyzed, reveals patterns. When organizations trend NCRs by category, supplier, department, root cause theme, or process step, they uncover systemic issues that individual events cannot reveal alone. Pareto analysis often shows that a small number of recurring causes drive the majority of disruptions. Cycle time analysis can reveal bottlenecks in disposition approval. Supplier NCR trending can highlight weak vendor controls. An NCR system that simply closes tickets is administrative. An NCR system that generates insight is strategic. This is where quality moves from reactive control to proactive improvement. Not every nonconformance warrants full corrective action, but recurring issues, high-risk events, or systemic breakdowns absolutely do. Corrective action must go beyond fixing the immediate defect. It must examine why the issue occurred and why it escaped detection. Why did the process fail? Why did controls not catch it sooner? What systemic gap allowed recurrence potential? True corrective action strengthens the process. It adjusts training, updates documentation, revises inspection plans, modifies equipment, or improves supplier oversight. Closing a corrective action without verifying effectiveness is incomplete. Verification ensures the system is stronger than before the event. That is the real objective. Perhaps the most overlooked aspect of nonconformance management is culture. If employees fear consequences for reporting issues, problems go underground. If production pressure consistently overrides quality discipline, informal shortcuts emerge. If leadership uses NCR metrics as punishment tools, transparency disappears. High-performing organizations cultivate psychological safety. They reward early detection. They encourage raising concerns. They treat nonconformances as opportunities for systemic improvement rather than individual blame. When culture is strong, issues surface early. When culture is weak, they surface late, often at the customer. Modern QMS platforms now integrate NCR management with ERP, supplier portals, and analytics dashboards. This allows real-time tracking of open NCR aging, trend visibility, and automated escalation triggers. In a Quality 4.0 environment, organizations are using data analytics to predict where nonconformances are likely to occur based on process variability and historical patterns. Digital tools do not replace judgment, they enhance visibility, and visibility enables faster, more informed decisions. Ultimately, non-conformance management is not a clerical function, it is a leadership responsibility. Leaders must regularly review NCR trends, challenge recurring themes, and ensure corrective actions are not superficial. They must balance production urgency with quality discipline. And they must model integrity when difficult disposition decisions arise, because every non-conformance decision sends a signal to the organization about what truly matters. Non-conformances are inevitable in any complex system. What defines organizational maturity is not defect elimination, it is disciplined response. When managed effectively, non-conformances and deviations protect the customer, protect regulatory compliance, strengthen process capability, generate data-driven insight, reinforce a culture of accountability. Total quality management is not about perfection, it is about continuous strengthening of the system, and disciplined management of non-conformances is one of the clearest indicators of whether that system is truly robust. Because excellence is not the absence of problems, it is the presence of disciplined response. Thank you for joining me in Chapter 59. Check out our other training videos in this series, where we continue to delve deeper into the 6 pillars of total quality management, as well as tools, benefits, and how to implement TQM in your organization. Thank you for joining, and don't forget to subscribe for new videos from All Things Quality.